made a lot of progress in my Minecraft world, but there are still so many important resources that I have to farm manually. So today I want to build a cozy little town that's gonna hold all of the important farms I need to progress in my world. I mean, we just have to go down here to my early game farms to see that this cannot go on any longer. This horrible stuff, this manual stuff, whatever this abomination is, internal and external screaming. Now we just have to find a big enough location to build all of the farms. And I was thinking this location here behind my mining outpost. We already have a nice mining operation here, so using the space behind it as another industrial area would be really nice. And this area is really hilly and there's lots of uneven terrain. But instead of flattening it all, I think I'm gonna keep it and build things on many different levels. And the first farm I want to build is for sugarcane. Sugarcane is something I need to craft into paper so I can craft rockets. It's even funnier that I waited so long to make a sugarcane farm because they're super easy to build. We just need to craft some redstone components like a couple of pistons, and the only annoying part might be having to craft observers because we need quartz from the nether, and I hate the nether, but I already picked up tons of it last time I visited, so hopefully no more nether for me. But thanks to our iron farm, we never run out of iron. Oh my gosh, it's all full again. So crafting iron heavy things like hoppers is never gonna be a problem for me, which just shows how great it is to have automatic farms. I crafted up all of the resources, so now we can go and build the farm. When you have such a big area to fill with builds, it's always so hard to pick the first spot. But I think the sugarcane here by the shore is giving us a sign. So let's build the farm right here. After I covered up this ugly water cave because ew, no. I'm not scared. And now we can start building the farm while this horse is watching me creepily. I'm gonna place down some mud on top of the hoppers because mud is like 1 pixel shorter than all the other blocks. So the hopper is gonna pick things up when it falls on top of it. Then we also need a water source. So I'm gonna add water into these slabs. Then we can add all of the pistons on top, and then we can add the observers, but I'm just gonna add 2 of them on each end. I could put them on top of all of the pistons, but I also don't want to go to the nether. And once the sugarcane grows in front of the observers, it should trigger the pistons. And I think just one farm isn't enough, so I built another one right next to it. So now we have 2 little sugarcane farms, and they aren't too crazy, but they're also gonna be enough for me, and they're not gonna lag out my world. And the farm can start running while I get the resources to make it pretty, because right now it's so ugly. We need to build a pretty house around it. And of course it started raining just as I said that. I just have to say the word build and Minecraft makes it rain. What a perfect timing to be indoors and gather my resources. But as soon as the rain stopped, I went back outside to get the resources that I don't have ready in my storage, which is mainly spruce wood, but that's why I have a bunch of big trees ready for me to chop them down. And it turned into a whole wood cutting spree and now we have so many logs. But I'm building a whole town today, which means a lot of spruce wood is gonna be involved. So I'm just crafting stuff and I see little feet creaking next to me. He just spawned in my house. Ah, no, I can't even kick him out because the door is too small for him. But after getting rid of my creepy house guest, I finally had all of the resources. And before I start building, I'm just quickly gonna terraform the area so we have a nice flat surface around the farm. And the horse is watching me again. And now the terrain is looking much nicer. It's also getting dark, I'm scared. And let's build the first house. Because I built the farm first, I know exactly how wide and tall the build has to be to not interfere with the redstone, so I can just wrap a cute little house around the sugarcane farm and not worry about anything breaking. I also decorated the sides of the house, and we can also add some azalea leaves and of course some lanterns because we don't want any mobs crawling into our farm and exploding over all the redstone. I know the creepers would love to do that, but I'm not letting them. And it's raining again. Also, it looks like the pillagers must have been here to ambush me because the happy guest picked one up in a boat. I think I got a new monster protection, and it's a giant floating balloon. And now we have this beautiful little sugarcane farmhouse. This definitely looks like a place that I would want to visit to collect my sugarcane. The inside is still very ew though. So I'm gonna add a little mud floor mixing packed mud and mud bricks and some brown mushrooms. And I also want to decorate the ceiling, so I'm just gonna add some pillars and then we can connect them together with little arches. And those are also the perfect spot to hang a bunch of lanterns because I think the sugarcane needs light to grow. But we already got our first harvest and it's in here. And hopefully while I'm grinding away, the sugarcane farm is gonna give me lots of resources. Now we got one build taking up a huge chunk of this area, so we need to do some planning so we can fit all of the builds in here. So I took a screenshot of the area and went into some random Windows painting program and then marked some spaces where I want to build houses and paths and custom trees. And yes, I know it looks like a child's drawing, but it's really helpful to figure out the layout of the town. And now that we have an idea of the general layout, we can start working on the next farm. And another thing that I hate to farm manually is cactus, but I don't want to make a general cactus farm because I'm mostly after the cactus flowers because they can be placed on anything. You can literally place them on walls or on fences. So they're a beautiful decor piece, but they're a pain to farm. And I looked up a farm design that's also gonna farm the cactus flowers, and it looks like it's also gonna be a pain. But once we make it, we can just let it run and then we get infinite cactus flowers. For that we need the usual redstone stuff, but we also need sticky pistons. And I got this slime from a wandering trader. So sometimes the wandering trader is useful, especially when you murder them for leads. I mean nothing. I also need to craft repeaters, and it doesn't show in my recipes. How do I craft this again? I think we need to make redstone torches. Yes, and then it should unlock redstone repeater. And the cactus flower farm is gonna go right here to the right of the sugarcane farm. But first we have to destroy this little hill. Sorry, little hill. And I'm gonna follow a tutorial for this farm. So if you want to build it yourself, I'm gonna link it in the description. We got the cactus surrounded by hoppers. And then we can add all of the fancy redstone stuff, like the observer detecting when the cactus grows. And then like a double piston extender or something fancy words. I'm pretending I know what I'm doing. But basically when the cactus grows, the observer is gonna send a signal so the piston can push it off, but the sticky piston will pull it back because no block can be next to a cactus when it grows. Maybe I do kind of understand redstone. And then I'm just gonna surround the whole thing with glass, otherwise the cactus is just gonna fly everywhere. And I don't want to wait for this to grow really slowly, so we can just test if the farm works. Yes! And now the cactus is in the chest. So the farm is producing cactus and cactus flowers. So we get pretty decor and green dye. And while the farm does its thing very, very slowly, we can gather the resources for the house around it. I think I'm gonna go for sandstone and birch for the walls again. So the block palette slightly matches the sugarcane farm, and we can't go wrong with more spruce wood either. But I also want to go for some more industrial looking blocks because it's gonna be an industrial town. So the first thing that came to mind is copper. And I also want to use the slightly weathered version of it. But I already prepared and I put some copper behind my house, and one oxidized and the others just haven't. But look, this is the copper version that I want to use. I'm gonna spread out the copper I just smelted too, and I'm definitely gonna use copper in some of my builds, so I think it's time we hit the mines and gather some more. Let's go down this super scary winding staircase into the creepy caves, because I never mined any of the copper here. I mine pretty much everything else, but not the copper. And this part of the cave is mostly lit up, so I just have to wander around and pick up all the copper I see. Hi, creeper. Bye, creeper. Hi, monsters. Got him. Ah! I didn't get him. I didn't get him. Dude, that scared me so much. Stupid Skelly. Let me get the copper in the ceiling. Ah! Why is it still alive? Dude, you're supposed to burn to death. Just like that, losers. I think I'm just gonna jump into this pool and mine the copper in the water. Water caving is definitely better. I just found diamonds. And if I get close to drowning, I just mine into the ceiling and I can breathe air. And more diamonds. I love when I get carried away grinding a bunch of random resources in the caves. And we also got some uncommon ores like the stone diamond ore and the redstone ore. And in my mining outpost I have a little display area for rare or unique things that I find. And I want to fortune mine the rest of the ores, especially the copper I found. I'm so high up I can barely see my base under the clouds. Mining, 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 mining. And I got so much copper that I cannot even pick all of it up. And while I was on my fun water caving spree, some of my copper has finally oxidized. Even more than I need, so we can just axe it. And we can also wax it so it doesn't oxidize further. Now let's take all of our resources and build a little house around this farm. We got a nice sandstone and birch box. I fell down. And then we can add a copper roof trim. But I'm also gonna texture it with jungle wood because I think that kind of goes well together. So we got some nice textures, and that means we're also saving up on copper because soon there's gonna be a copper update with copper golems and copper armor. So we need to save up tons of it for when that comes around. I also want to add some trapdoors at the top of the roof, but you cannot craft them out of full copper blocks, so I just put them on the roof and it can oxidize there. And I want them there because I want to do a cute little thing with lightning rods and a lantern. And it's looking really cute. And I'm really liking how this little cactus farmhouse came out. And look, we got 3 cacti already. Yeah, this farm is really slow because it's just 1 cactus. And what's better than 1 cactus farm? 2 cactus farms. And that also means I get to expand my beautiful little house. Oh yeah. And that made the house look even better. And for this one I had to lower the cactus farm into the ground. So the only way to access the chest is if we open this trapdoor, then we can go down here and there's just dirt in there. I just want the flowers, and look, we got our first one. And we can use it to decorate our house. Another farm is done, so let's put our spare resources away so everything stays organized. No chest monsters. And I just thought of another farm we could build that isn't really a redstone farm. I constantly run out of furnace fuel and I need to smelt tons of stuff like my copper. And the best furnace fuel is lava, so always fly over to a lava pond. And I've been here a lot already. So at some point that lava pond is gonna be gone. And then what? I don't want to go in the caves. So we can make a lava farm where we always have a place to collect furnace fuel. Also, it's raining again. And for the lava farm to work, we need dripstone, and I only own 3, and we definitely need more. I've been looking for an open cave that has dripstone, and I found this one here, but it doesn't have dripstone. It just has the block. Wait, but it's a water cave? Yes, there's some dripstone. Oh, and there's so much copper here. You know what? I'm gonna grab that now that I'm here. Just preparing for the copper update. Wait, it goes down deeper. Hello? It's a cave. But yay, it's dripstone. Look at this giant thing. Let's just take this. Let's leave again. And then we just need a bunch of cauldrons. My little child's drawing says to put another build right here on the right side, and it's gonna be full of lava. So let's dig into the side of the hill and make a little room for the lava farm. Let's place a bunch of cauldrons next to each other, and I want to make 2 rows of them. Then we need the pointed dripstone going into the cauldron, but I want to have it hanging on a pretty block, so I'm choosing this chiseled tuff. And then the dripstone can go underneath. And I made little boxes on top of that, and that's where the lava is gonna go. So we actually need lava to make the lava farm. And I also need to be careful to not walk into the lava or accidentally throw one of my tools or shulker boxes into the lava, because I would definitely do that by accident. So let's cover it up with dirt for now. And now you can see the lava dripping from the dripstone, and it's gonna fill up the cauldron. Infinite spicy hot sauce. And I just had a funny idea to make this house a little charred building to stick with the burned lava theme. So we need to collect a bunch of charred blocks, so let's go down to the mines. And we can go and pick up some more cobbled deep slate with my fortune pick. And I also want to pick up some more tuff, so we can just fly through my branch mine until we see some. I saw some. And then we just grab a bunch of that too. And I'm so lucky today. I keep finding diamonds. And I mined out the entire tuff vein. So now hopefully this is going to be enough for my lava house and more houses that I'm going to build. But tuff and deep slate doesn't really give charred vibes. It's just like a dark block. But there is one super charred block that I haven't built with in years. I think it's been 5 years since I touched that block. And that was also the time when the block was added to the game. And guess where it can be found? The Nether. And it's right here next to the portal. It's all of this here. And it's called basalt. Definitely didn't have to look at the block to remember the name. So let's mine all of this and be careful to not mine into lava, because that can definitely happen in this biome. I'm so brave I survived the Nether. And you can also craft the basalt into polished basalt. I'm loving how I'm rediscovering these blocks for myself when I haven't used them for years. I also don't understand this copper. How can these fully oxidize and then the ones next to them not oxidizing at all? Minecraft is weird. But I got myself some more waxed copper slabs. And look at that, my lava farm has been working. We're never gonna run out of furnace fuel ever again. And I'm having so much fun building up my little town using different blocks that I haven't thought of in years and trying completely new block palettes. So last time I used basalt, we didn't have any tuff or copper blocks in the game. And this house is really giving charred factory vibes. I even added some extinguished campfires over the windows, you know, for the charred vibes. And we should also name this house the Charred Retreat. And I'm thinking maybe we should name all of the houses we have. So my sugarcane farm is gonna be the Sweet Sugar Candy Barn. Candy Barn. I hate that I did that. And the cactus farm is gonna be Spike's Prickly Cabin. There's a cactus character called Spike in another game, and every time I see a cactus, I think of him. Let me know if you ever played that game. So let's decorate the inside of the lava farm, because I kind of forgot to do that. Let's add a pretty chiseled tuff floor, because it gives these lovely square shapes. And then we can also have a nice gray moss carpet, because we're following a very gray block palette in here. I wanted to add some windows, but I only managed to add one, because there's just dirt and wall behind this. I mean, that's very factory core, right? There are never any windows or any daylight at all. I also want to add some more cute decor, so I'm gonna get some pale hanging moss to hang from the ceiling. I need buckets to collect all of the lava, and I also need some storage for the empty buckets. So whenever we need lava, we can just go here and go yum 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 yum. Nom 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 nom, delicious lava. And now it's suddenly darker in here. I'm scared. And I've got an inventory full of furnace fuel, and now we got this beautiful charred retreat. And I'm thinking before we build any more farms and houses around them, we gotta actually work on the little town, because now it's just 3 houses standing next to each other, and they need to be connected, and this entire area needs to be transformed into a town. So I want to start by making a path, and I want to use this one that I've also built in my base here. And luckily for me, I still have tons of mud and brown mushroom blocks. I'm gonna plan out the path using the normal path blocks first, so I get an idea of where one thinks to be, and I probably have to do a lot of terraforming because this terrain is really messy. And it's raining again. I've added some slab steps to go up and down the different layers, so now we just need to fill the parts in between with all of the mud blocks. And now we got a really nice path connecting all of the builds together. And of course I had to add some more dried bushes next to the charred retreat, you know, for burnt and dried reasons. And I want to add something really cool in front of these 3 houses, because we have this little empty grass patch left. So I'm thinking Ow! I flew into the wall. So I'm thinking we should build a big dock and cargo area. And I'm gonna start by separating the street up here from the one I'm gonna make down here, which is easily done with a retaining wall. And then I'm just gonna mine out all of the blocks that aren't on this water level. And I did a lot of experimenting with the retaining wall, and I think now I finally found a design that I like. And here we have my beautiful retaining wall. I'm already getting the town vibes. Now comes the task of figuring out where docks should go, because all of this is gonna be a dock area, but we're also gonna need some docks that are gonna go out into the river. I didn't really have a plan for this harbor area, so I literally just winged it. And I'm not even kidding, this needed over 15 stacks of spruce logs. So all the spruce I chopped earlier is gone now. And now we get to decorate this entire harbor. And the most important thing a harbor needs is ships. But since this is an industrial town, we're gonna need, industrial ships. So I'm really hoping my copper is oxidized. Yay! No! And it started raining at the exact same time. I put even more copper out to oxidize, so it better be doing that. I'm watching you guys. You better be turning green. And I just spent 20 minutes waiting for this copper to oxidize. And then I remembered I could have just gone to a trial chamber and just mined all of the copper. I did a lot of screaming when I realized that. But now I've got all of the resources already, so we don't have to go into any creepy crawly chambers and instead decorate my harbor. And I'm gonna start with a really tiny boat design. It's just gonna be this tiny little thing, and we're gonna decorate it with signs. And of course trapdoors, which are refusing to oxidize. So I'm just gonna let them oxidize on here. And then a white banner on top as the sail. They're gonna look much better once the copper trapdoors have oxidized, but they're already looking so cute. And I can even sit in the boats. And what a lovely view I have. So let me just move some things aside, make a little space for my rage, and then get wrecked, die in fire. Goodbye. Losers. You smell. Don't visit again. Anyway, let's build another boat. And the next one has to fill out the space in between these two docks, so it's going to be a slightly bigger one. And the roof is where all of my copper is going. I tried a block palette that I never used before, and we're definitely hitting the industrial core with this one. A nice old rusty fisher boat. So now this area has the ships, which leaves this big area right here. So it's time for a really long ship. And it's going to be a giant cargo ship. This town could be exporting all of the farm resources so the ship could bring them to other places. I mean, who wouldn't want to buy resources from a ship like this? Definitely not looking super dirty and shady. I wanted to build some storage containers here, but I just had a much better idea. When you place down dried kelp, it looks like a giant box that's tied up, and they look like giant packages that could contain tons of resources. And another industrial thing my harbor needs is cranes. Just like the cranes I've made over at my Happy Guys base. Which means I'm gonna need more spruce wood because I used all of it on the harbor. So let's feed my ever-growing spruce obsession and wipe out another forest with my axe. I feel like cranes just belong on an industrial harbor because they can lift all of the heavy stuff on and off the ships and move them around. I've also just spent the last hour going around my harbor and placing a bunch of storage containers and of course the resources coming from the farms. So we have sugarcane growing here, and I hid water in this block here so I can actually place it down. And in the whole hour, all of the copper trapdoors still haven't oxidized. Copper hates me. Then we got a little cactus area and of course the lava. So now our little harbor is looking a lot more decorated, but I left a bunch of empty spaces because we still haven't built all of the farms in this town. We still have to fill this entire part back here with houses. And another farm I desperately need is bamboo. I have my manual farm here and I always use it to get sticks because I never want to waste my precious spruce wood to make sticks and chests or barrels. And bamboo grows incredibly fast, so we don't need to make a giant monster of a farm. So I'm gonna build the same farm I used for the sugarcane, just without the water. And I chose a spot right next to the sugarcane farm in this little hill with this horse still watching me. It's creepy. And it's only been like a minute since I planted the sugarcane and it's already growing. And it has to be efficient because I'm gonna need all of the bamboo from the farm to build the house around it. And next to bamboo blocks, we're also gonna need calcite and pale wood. And of course, more spruce wood. The town is getting a new building and it's gonna be a cozy little cottage with calcite and pale oak walls and a pointy spruce and bamboo roof on top. And I'm really liking my tiny little bamboo shack. I also decorated the inside and added a little bamboo flooring and a pretty ceiling. So another farm is officially done. And this house also needs a name. So it's gonna be the Bamboozle Shack. These names keep getting weirder and weirder. And the next farm we need isn't gonna fit into one building. It's gonna go into 3 buildings. And I'm super excited to make this farm because it's gonna be one of the most useful farms in my world. After rockets and iron, of course. I wanna get rid of this horrible sheep pen and make an automatic farm for every single wool color. And wool is one super important resource for me because I constantly need it to decorate my interiors. Things like banners can be super expensive, so having an infinite amount of wool of every single color is gonna be so good. I'm also gonna need a bunch of dispensers, and I don't have a string farm, so I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. I'm just gonna quickly kill all of the spiders for string and dodge the creepers. And after a night of screaming in agony, I've got an inventory full of mess, but I also got 47 string and a couple bows. So now it's dispenser time. We need all of this redstone, but then we also need a bunch of minecarts. I'm so glad I have an iron farm. First, let's flatten out the terrain where the farm is gonna sit. There's already a sheep here and it's hiding under my terraforming. Come on, get out so I can put you into a 1-block space in my farm. I mean nothing. And now that this area is looking much nicer, we can start by adding in all of the farm modules. And so the wool is going to be collected immediately. We need to put a minecart on a rail and then get rid of the rail underneath. And then we need to use a piston to push a dirt block into the minecart. So now the minecart and the dirt exist on the exact same block. I also just realized I'm stupid because it's not working. Because I don't need a minecart, I need a hopper minecart. I'm such an idiot. Anyway, let's try this again. And now it's working. I definitely did it first try. You saw nothing. Now we just need to add the hopper minecarts on top of all of the other modules and then let them become one with the grass block. And I also added all of the redstone stuff in the back with an observer detecting when the sheep eats the grass and then giving a signal to the dispenser. So we gotta craft a bunch of shears and fill all of the dispensers with them. Having an iron farm just keeps getting better and better. We're gonna need to have 16 modules for 16 different kinds of sheep because there are 16 dye colors in the game. So I'm gonna put together a shulker box with one of each dye so I have an easier time dyeing all of the sheep later. And these are all of the dyes the game has to offer. And now we can already move the first 6 sheep in here. But I'm not gonna open this up, it's gonna be a sheep explosion. So good that I recently made a happy gas base so we can use one of them to carry the sheep over. Come on little guys, we're going on an adventure. So let's put 6 sheep on a lead and then we attach them to the happy gas. Now we get on the gas. Look at the little sheep dangling. No annoying animal transport, just cozy floating in the sky. I got off and now the happy gas is just flying away with my sheep. Come back here! Those poor sheep. I made a little hole to drop the sheep in. Let's see if the gas can move over the hole. Come on, right here and shear them. Yes! Most of them are in the hole. Now we can dye the sheep the color we want and then just move them into the farm modules. Come on, sheep, get inside this hole. Yes, first one is in place. I fell into the sheep module. I hate this. Ow! Now all of the sheep are in place and I placed a wool block in front of each of the farms so I know which color is where. And I also added another module on top so we can have a really cool house around this. But before I do that, I need to name my happy guests. In my last video, I made a happy guest base and I asked you guys what I should name the 5 guests that are living here. So let's purchase a bunch of name tags from my villagers in Cherrytown. Also, I don't know how this happened, but Mayor Brook and another villager are just in a boat on top of the leaves. I just saw something even more cursed. The happy guest lost its boat and it's in a tree with a pillager. Awkward. The blue guest just floating around my base is gonna be named Rainy with little umbrellas because Minecraft always makes it rain when I build. Maybe Rainy is gonna break my rain curse. The red guest here is gonna be called Air Fryer because why not? This one here is gonna be Ryan Gastling and the pink one here is gonna be called Glinda and that's gonna be the guest going north and then the one to the west is gonna be called Azalea because of my Azalea obsession, and Azalea is almost like Zelina, the Wicked Witch of the West. And if I haven't just summoned the entire Once Upon a Time fandom, I'm gonna go screaming into a wall. Anyway, thank you for all the fun and cursed guest name suggestions. But now let's get back on the grind because we have to build an entire house around this. And luckily for me, I already have all of the resources that I need in my base. Except that I'm out of spruce wood again. After trying out so many different kinds of block palettes, it's so great to go back to the basics and make a house using stony blocks, deep slate, and spruce wood. And since the sheep farm is on the edge of my town next to my farm, I'm gonna give this house some farm vibes too. This house is looking really cozy, but one thing is missing. The spamming of azalea leaves all over the place. Oh yeah, much better. Also look, my copper trapdoors are finally starting to oxidize. And I also want to decorate the inside of the sheep farm so it doesn't look super redstony and messy. And the floor is gonna be packed mud and mud bricks again, so later we can connect a path to this. And I also want a better way to reach the modules up here. I mean, I could reach them here, but that doesn't look very pretty. So we can have a ladder going up and then we can create a little attic using trapdoors. And I also want to add some flowers in the same colors as the sheep here so we can have an allium for the magenta and then a pink tulip for the pink dye and also a cactus flower on a pot because I like cactus flowers. And now this little pink attic is looking so beautiful. And we also have a door here leading to the outside where it's raining. Oh my gosh. Why? I wanted to share the beautiful view from my balcony, but also the view is really bad right now because there's my unfinished terrain. I also added some blue flowers down here and some cactus for for the green. So sheep farm number 1 is officially done. Now we just need to make more farms for all of these colors. And the next one is gonna be in this incredibly messy hill, and I think I'm just gonna build some of them inside of this hill. Don't mind me flying a bunch of yellow pea sheep over to my new farm. This looks so horrible. I also just did something really cursed. Those sheep are attached to one other sheep. Since when is this a thing? And here we have the black and white colors stacked on top of each other. And over here we have the yellow, red, and orange colors. I fell again. I want the area in front of the big sheep house to be kind of like a market area, so I'm gonna hide this other sheep farm in a little market stall. And the little market building is also gonna get a nice brick roof, so it's not just all spruce wood. And the creepy horse is here to inspect my new market stall thing. But it's looking really cute. And we also have a little secret trapdoor so we can reach the farms down here. But now this front part is looking really messy, the horse is judging me. So it's time for another retaining wall. And now the area doesn't look super messy anymore. And we can walk on this path to reach the farm. And even better, we now have a beautiful view of the harbor from up here. And my copper trapdoors have almost oxidized. Yes, finally. With this sheep farm covered up, we can move on to this sheep farm over here. I built the modules in a weird shape because I actually want to build a round building around this. I should really clean up this charcoal monster in my storage room. But let's just ignore that for now and craft up all the resources for the round house. We mainly need a bunch of stone and cobblestone and andesite, and I'm kind of running short, but I think it's going to be enough for this building. Then we also need a bunch of white stained glass paint, and I've already prepared and smelted down some glass, so we just have to dye it white. And I crafted up the rest of the resources, which was mainly more spruce wood, because of course it was. So I went ahead and brought up some stone walls all around the farm in a circle, and then I added a dome-shaped glass roof on top of it that's held together by more spruce wood. I like spruce wood. And I think it turned out really nicely, and I just had another idea to tie it into the industrial town vibes. We could try and add a little observatory telescope kind of thing coming out of this glass roof. I have no idea if I can actually pull this off. Let's just use some copper and then some stained glass as like the telescope glass thing. I tweaked it a little bit and I think I fell. And I think that's looking kind of okay. And I also built the entrance to the house very close to the edge, so it's time to do a little bit of terraforming. I also just spent 10 minutes looking for the shulker box that has all of my mud path blocks, only for it to be in my inventory. Pro Minecraft. I made a staircase going up on this path leading towards the house, so we have easy access to the farm. And all of it is held together by this retaining wall. And I still need to work on the path and connect everything together, but I used up most of my resources, so we gotta go ahead and farm a bunch of wheat on our crop field. And let's put the extra seeds we have into this bone meal machine behind my house, because that's pretty much the only source of bone meal I have in my world right now. And then we can turn all of this mud into packed mud while the bone meal machine makes loud noises in the background. But my shovel was close to breaking, so I paid a visit to my enderman farm to quickly repair it. But now it's finally time to finish my path and connect the upper parts of the village with the lower ones. And I also had the idea to connect this town to the rest of my base, so I continued the path all the way to my mining outpost. And luckily I used the same block, so it was so easy to link it up. And now that everything is connected, it looks so much better. And now that my sheep farms are done, I've also given them names. This one is called Sheer Joy, then this one here is Sheer Luck, and this one here is called Sheer Delirium. And now that all the basic structures are in place, we gotta detail the village and add tons of things that make it feel alive. The first thing we gotta do is finish off this harbor area, because I didn't add the wool and the bamboo blocks here yet. And I have this pile of wood here, and I think I'm gonna tear this out and then add a pile of bamboo wood instead. We can also strip some of the logs, and we can have a rail over it holding it all together. And now this looks much better and related to our farms. And for the wool, we can have a pile of looms. And I also want to add spools of wool here, so we can have a button on top of them, so it looks like they're on a stick and it's going through it. And I'm also gonna add little pots here where I'm gonna put a carpet on top, so it looks like it's some kind of powder for different kinds of dyes. And now the entire dock is decorated as well. And I discovered something really cool. I placed down these cauldrons a while ago, and some of them have been filling up with water because of the constant raining. Maybe rain is kind of cool. And with this part of the town done, we can move on to the area going upwards alongside this path. And I think I want to add a bunch of market stalls here. And I need to make more fence gates and ran out of sticks, so good that I'm right next to my bamboo farm. So we can use some spruce wood to make a tiny little market stall attached to this side of the mountain. I just broke a sunflower. Sorry, little sunflower. And we can use the wool from our wool farm to make a little overhang over this market stall. I'm also gonna add some bamboo in between, and we can add some bamboo in the front, and also some item frames on the barrel, and then we can add some bamboo blocks inside of it. And I think this turned out really well, and it matches the vibe of the bamboo farm. And I also dug out a little space next to my cactus farm, so we can put another market stall in here, and then we can try to attach it to this side of the house. And this time for the colorful stripes in between the white, I want to use some copper, because the copper behind my house is finally fully oxidized. It only took 100 in-game days. And then we can display the resources from the farm, like the cactus flowers or the cactus. So we got another pretty market stall done, and I think we still have space for a third one because we could build it against this wall. So I'm just gonna tear out this window in the back and make space for some market stuff. And this time we can have some mangrove on the overhang. I have a data pack that when I kill mobs, they sometimes drop their head, and then you can get them as a block, so we could display them in here because this is gonna be the sheep farm market stall. This is looking kind of cruel though. And I also want to put a loom in here because we can actually put a villager in here. So let's see if our villager breeder has been giving us more babies. And it looks like my villager breeder broke again because there's just one villager here, but this hole down there is full of villagers. I moved one of them back into the villager breeder, so it's gonna be working again. Oh yeah, it's definitely working. I can see some hearts. And I also got 2 more on a boat. These are Julia and Joel, and I'm gonna take both of them with me. And with that I mean I'm gonna jump down this hill and hope they follow me in the boat. Yay, flying villagers. And then we can land right in front of the market stall. And I hope they're gonna pathfind to the looms instead of all the barrels over there. Come on, villagers, be nice. They're just walking away. Joel, you do not go in my cave. No, come back. Get back in the boat. Get back in the boat. Got him. Villagers are so annoying. Take your jobs. Don't look at the barrels. Do not take the barrels. They took the barrel. Bad, Joel. Very bad. Now both of them are shepherds, and we just need to lock the trade so they don't change to barrel man again. No more barrels for you guys. And now this is looking really cool, and we also have another emerald source because every time I have too much wool, I can just trade them with the villagers. And I also want to do something silly and make a little pen for a very special kind of sheep. The kind of sheep that drops this kind of head. Minecraft has a bunch of secrets, and one of them is if you name a sheep a certain way. We can rename a name tag to Jeb_, and then we just need to find a sheep and hope it works. And boom. Yay! Look, the sheep changes color. It's so cool. And I think I'm just gonna set up a little pen for it next to the market. And I think it would be funny if he was like some kind of an attraction because a rainbow colored sheep is kind of rare. So the villagers could be putting on a show here with Chameleon the Woolly Wonder. That's like the stupidest name ever, and that's perfect because it was made up by villagers. Definitely not by me. And I also want to make another stable for an animal that has been a part of the village since the very beginning. He was always here when I built my houses, but now he's nowhere to be found. I found him. It's this judgmental horse. He must have walked away once I finished building the houses because there is nothing left to judge. And we have this empty space in front of this wall, so we're gonna make the stable right here. And I think we gotta give him a very judgy name. So he's going to be called the Judge. But I would trust his judgment with my life, for sure. I was also bored and made a giant archway as the entrance leading into the village. And for some reason it's giving me cursed campsite vibes. But I also put some signs up here because I want to give this town a name. But I have no idea what to name this town. So if you have any name ideas for this cozy little town, let me know in the comments and I'm gonna pick one of your suggestions. But the town is still not finished. We're gonna need a bunch of custom trees all over the place. I spent a really long time in my storage room, first getting rid of the shulker monster, and then crafting and collecting all of the different resources that I'm gonna need to build custom trees. And I also need more leaves, so I'm just gonna fly to a random forest and then take all of the leaves off the trees. Teehee. I also just found this super cool spruce village on a floating island that looks super cool. And I'm stealing their bell. Teehee. I'm just collecting birch leaves and I was like, huh, what's this on the ground? There's just this trident drowned somewhere in the ocean throwing things at me. There's a fork in my tree. Let's kill that guy. Get wrecked. Leave me alone. Oh my gosh, they dropped the trident. This is so random, but we just got a trident, which is really, really cool. Now subscribe or taste the trident. Just kidding. And I also gathered all of the resources, so now we have a bunch of wooden stuff and a bunch of leaves. It's custom tree time. I'm gonna add some birch trees on the right side of the town to match the birch trees in my starter base area. And then on the left side I decided to add a bunch of spruce trees, especially the big ones, to match my happy guest area where I also built those trees. I also put some smaller custom trees into the village, like one next to the horse stable, and one next to the sugarcane farm, and another one hidden behind this house. And now this area is looking so cool. It might be an industrial farming town, but it's so lush and green and cozy. And this big island my base is sitting on has changed so much too. We almost covered all of this area here. This is an old map of my base before I built all of the things here, so I think it's time to make a new one. Good that we now have a sugarcane farm because this is gonna cost so much paper. I'm actually so excited to update my maps. And I want to keep my old map in my base for nostalgic reasons, so I'm gonna make a new map display in my town. I made this really cool round kind of sign, and then we can put some item frames on top of that. And then I just have to figure out which map goes where. This is so satisfying, it's like completing a puzzle. And this area is looking so cool already, especially our little town. And I hope you liked watching me build up this town too. And if you enjoyed it, please consider giving the video a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos in my world. Bye!